Hello, everyone, and welcome back to WD18, the Watford fan channel. We are back because we have made a signing, a January transfer that everyone has been waiting for, or maybe not so. But I'm looking forward to chatting with Conor about him. Conor's been on the channel already when we signed Rocco Vata, and everything he said about Rocco is coming to light. So thanks so much, Conor. Thanks for joining again. How are you? And did you go to Wembley?
I did. I don't really want to speak about that. But, well, from a Watford point of view, it was decent from Festy for the first 45 minutes. He was the best player on the pitch in the first half. But, no, I don't really like to speak about it. It was a second half of destruction after a positive first half from an Irish point of view.
At least you got to see Declan Rice and Grealish at the Aviva again.
No, don't start that. No, that was I've said to many people that the 5-0 wasn't near as bad as seeing them two score at the Vive and the 2-0. That broke my heart. Now one of the worst moments of my footballing life.
This is bad form from me, inviting someone to come on to do me a favour and slating him already. But Conor McEvoy, he's been on before. He runs Republic of Ireland Player Tracker, which is, if you're not following, you need to follow. Tracks all the Irish players. And what else have you been doing? I've seen some good videos recently that you've been knocking out on YouTube. What content have you been on?
Lansdowne Road I do is a football podcast / like YouTube channel. So in the last month or so, we've started to try and put out more YouTube style videos that seem to be going down with Irish fans, expanding on the knowledge I have. So yeah, we're trying to build that at the moment. It's starting to gradually pick up, which is good.
Good stuff. Yeah, we'll put links in the descriptions, no doubt. And maybe at the end of the video, we'll ask to see if there's any potential other young Irish players who we can nick. Because, well, speaking of that, I think when our academy team played in the FA Youth Cup yesterday, the boy scored. I think he might have scored two. Sorry, my research has not been good. But who's the young player that we signed who's already doing damage?
Nixon Okuson scored last night, yes, in the FA Youth Cup, which was good to see. Only just joined, so it's good to have another Irishman coming in and doing well, and a player that you hope will have high enough ceiling that can develop at the club and become a first teamer one day.
The Irish Hornets, loving it, loving it. So we could be speaking to Conor a few times as we go on. Yeah, this video is about James Abankwah, Watford's new signing from Udinese. I will bring up the statement in a bit, but Conor, do you want to start by just telling us a bit more about James, kind of what you know about him and a vague kind of bit about his background?
Yeah, he is. I think he's one that's travelled a bit throughout Ireland through his young. He was born in Waterford. I believe he lived in Donegal, and he went to Longford where his family, I think, settled after that, and came through. Played for a team called Melview, then played for Cherry Orchard, a very highly taught schoolboy team. I think he played with the likes of Sinclair Armstrong, who's at Bristol City now, and then went on St. Pat's are now one of the big powerhouses in Irish football. James broke through at a young age, and you could see then he's a freak athlete in that sense, and it didn't take him long to settle into men's football, and there's no real surprise to see where he's at now because he's been one since the very start in that 2004 age bracket that people have been speaking highly of, and it's he's had very good mentors in Ireland, and I'm not surprised to see where he's at now.
So the statement that Watford released yesterday, Watford are pleased to announce the loan signing of Ireland under-21 international defender James Abankwah. The 21-year-old joins Hornets on a deal until the end of the season from, you guessed it, Udinese. Interesting. We were speaking a bit about it before, but Udinese, normally, obviously our owners are known for kind of plucking talent out, but is this quite rare that we've seen? I know you mentioned Irish clubs are looking now to kind of pick Italian talent. Is this becoming more common?
Yeah, it is starting to come up more and more often now. I know Italian clubs. I think I've seen Brexit as a big eye opener that they can come and steal young Irish talent that always seems to go to the UK and does very well in the UK. So I think the likes of Italy, Germany, Holland, them sort of countries are starting to come in more. Italy, I think, is the big market at the moment that's coming in for talent. You see, like James Abankwah went there. Obviously, Festy went from Derby there, but they're starting to become more and more Irish talent. James and Festy actually are the two probably that have succeeded the most because academy football in in Italy, from what I believe, is very tough, and it's a really tough environment to break through. And even if you look at the benches you see in Italy, you have almost 15 players on the bench, which is, you could be number 15 on the bench and you'd be on the bench the whole season and never get a minute of game time. And you could probably say you're a first teamer, but how much of a first teamer really are you if you're just sitting on the bench as the 15th man? So it's starting to become more and more common, and it divides opinions, I know, in Ireland at the moment, but I think James has been one of the more successful stories because he's done well in the game time he's got at Udinese.
Absolutely. Tell us about what he's like as a player. Centre half, right-footed. Watford put out a video on their social media channels of him banging a goal in and doing some good defensive work at London Colney on his first day. I think it was his birthday when we signed him. I think it was his birthday.
Was, yeah.
Happy birthday to James. Yeah, tell us what he's like as a player, and what would be quite good for Watford fans to know is, where has he experienced playing in a back three? I think one of the areas that we need is kind of that left-sided centre back. Is that something you think you do, or we know Klebs is also pining to play for a back four? So yeah, tell us about him as a player.
Yeah, I think he's top class, to be honest, because just on the back three situation, I've always said I think his best position is on the right of a back three, obviously because he's right-footed. I'd imagine he could play on the left as well, no bother, because he's that talented. But when you see him play on the right of a back three, especially when he played for Ireland or 21s, he was absolutely superb. And interestingly, Udinese play a back five. Over the last month or so, actually, he started to get a lot of regular minutes. There was games he would come on at half time consistently at half, and he was playing very, very well. And it's actually a bit of a surprise to me, and I know to very fellow Irish fans of James, that he's actually gone out and loaned to Watford, because you were looking at the Udinese team and he was coming on playing well, and people are starting to think, yeah, he's not far off starting regular games. And then I think it's a bit of a shock to see him go out and loan, but if he's going to start every week at Watford, I know Cleverly said yesterday about playing a back four, he can suit a back four, but I personally think his best position is a back five on the right. He's elite. I think his most elite asset he has is his ball carrying ability, carry the ball out, huge composure on the ball. It almost reminds you of the way Saliba is. I know you can't, it's impossible to compare someone to someone of that standard, but his composure on the ball is unreal. His strength, he's an elite athlete, so everything comes with that. He's fast, he's strong, he's powerful in the air, and he's very, very good in the ball. From what you watch at Watford, from what I've seen at Watford, some of the defenders seem to be a bit more old school in that sense. They're not as comfortable on the ball as James is. So I know he originally came through as a right back really at St. Pat's. So even if he had to fill in on the right of a back four, which I know he's done a lot in the past. I know he played there when he was on loan at Charlton, but he struggled there. So I think his best position really is the right of a back five, or sorry, the right side of a back three. And then I'd imagine he could slip in the centre or on the left if needed.
Yeah, I've been quite big on it, but I just don't think we've got the personnel to play a back four. I know Cleverly wants to get more attackers on like Rocco Vata, but I think we're so much better set up when we have got that back three, and so many goals we've scored this season have come from our fullbacks. We'll talk about Ebosele a bit later, but I do think that's kind of an area we've got strength in. So I do see James coming in, as you're talking there, maybe as that right side of a back three, or if he's good enough on the left side. But the fact you mentioned his ball carrying, his composure is definitely something that we've lacked, and it's definitely a different skill set from someone like Ryan Porteous. So that's really encouraging to hear. We do have to be balanced, and I know we put a tweet out when I asked one of my mates who was a Charlton fan, who wasn't as complimentary as you're being. So as you're aware, what happened in his loan when he went to Charlton? Was that last season?
It was a season. Was it last season? I'm not even 100% sure, because it feels like an age ago. Because
It was last season, yeah.
Yeah, it was last season, and it was the first couple of months, and then he got an injury and went back. But yeah, it just wasn't successful at all. I know one thing Jim Crawford always says, the Ireland 21 manager, that he's been told by coaches, is never judge a player off the first loan move, because anything can really happen. It's adapting to a different country. I know Ireland's very similar to England, but he went from Ireland to Italy back to living in England. It just didn't go well. He seemed to be playing as a right back the whole time. I don't know whether it was the style of play at Charlton, or I'd imagine a lot of it was just he wasn't it wasn't the right club for him. It just not suited for him. The fan base maybe got on top of him, as you know, when a young player starts to play poorly and then fans get on top of him, it's very hard to turn it around. So I just think nothing went well. I think he was better off going back to Udinese, and I think it shows his mental resilience that he came back and he got back into the Ireland under-21 starting, because he wasn't starting at the start of the campaign. Got back in, broke into his starting 11 by the end of it. Now, I know in the last couple of months he's been starting with Udinese, but I know Watford and Udinese have the connection, but Watford wouldn't have took him on loan if they didn't really think he was a very good player. And I think the Charlton thing is something you have to look at and think, yeah, he struggled, he didn't do well, but I think in the same time you have to look at it in sort of a positive that he's bounced back from it and got back to the level that we all Irish fans expected of him. And I know Charlton fans probably hope that he doesn't do too well at Watford because they want to say that they're right on a player, but I have a feeling they'll be proved wrong.
Yeah, well, unlike Watford, obviously, Charlton are a bit of a basket case club. They've got a little gremlin as their manager at the moment, so I'm not taking their opinion too valid. Liam, if you're watching, good to see you, mate. Yeah, and am I right in saying he's a captain for the under-21s?
Yeah,
And
he was. He's in this. Yeah, there's the new campaign started there. Well, not the campaign, but the new group of lads came in there in November, and he captained them in against Sweden in the friendlies.
Nice. And yeah, it was interesting seeing Cleverly talk about it, and he was stressing how much he and the board were aligned with this one, which is interesting. So Cleverly, when he done a bit of work on him, said he was really impressed with him and wanted to get him in. Apparently, the Udinese manager wasn't too happy about letting him go, which I found that was quite interesting. Yeah, I'm just looking at his stats here now, but do you know much about how he's got on this season for Udinese? Because when you actually dig a bit deeper, he has played a lot more than kind of you think on the surface.
Yeah, because you think with a lad going out on loan, especially a young lad, it's because they're not getting minutes. But I know he didn't. I think he wasn't involved with the last 2 game weeks because of this loan being sorted out. But like he was starting to play regular minutes. He was coming on at half time, or he was coming on just before half time, and it was obviously the manager thought highly of him. I find it mad that actually he's been let out on loan, because I thought he was just a tiny bit away from breaking into the first team, and imagine Cleverly must have watched him playing for the Ireland under-21s. It must have been where he seen him, because I remember the last game of the campaign he was up against Willie Nanto, and Willie Nanto didn't have a fun day against him, and he made a mockery of at times, to be honest, with his not just defensively but composure on the ball, selling a few dummies and stuff. So it's something that I think we should be very excited at seeing at Watford, because I actually find it mad that what Udinese have let him go, because like I've watched all them games he's come on off the bench for Udinese. I've watched them all to see how he's got on, and he's been absolutely excellent. So it's a big shock to me and many others that he's been let out on loan.
Nice, brilliant. Last one on James. Where will he be in 5 years' time? Putting a bit of a hospital pass for you in here, but yeah, how good do you think he is?
I think he's potentially a Premier League player. I know it's hard to say, because I do think he is a lot better on the right of a back three than he is any other position. So I think he needs to be in a team that's playing in a back five. Obviously, if you're going to be a Premier League player, you can play in any sort of system at that level. But hopefully, Watford will be a Premier League club in 5 years' time, and he's playing for Watford in the Premier League. Couple more seasons at Udinese, and Watford go back up, because he signed. I don't know if you've seen, he signed a new contract yesterday at Udinese after going on loan. So hopefully he might go back to Udinese in the summer, play there for a couple of seasons, then head back to Watford when they're in the Premier League.
Yeah, those contracts are interesting how they work between us. But yeah, thank you, Conor. You're so complimentary about Watford, which considering the intro I gave you, I'm surprised about. Let's move on to some other Irish players. First up, Festy Ebosele. When he came in, I think we were saying probably the best signing we had in the summer. I know I spoke to you and you were saying how good he's been. I think when he's played for Ireland, he's been exceptional recently. You'll know better than me. It's been a tough one with Watford. I think when he first came in, he was really, really good, playing as that right wing back. He scored against Sunderland. I think he put in a couple of man of the matches. But I think the last month or so, especially where Jeremy Ngakia has come in, I think he struggled. I think he struggled to get in over Jeremy Ngakia. I think Cleverly thinks Ngakia is a bit better defensively. And I think Cleverly has mentioned something about Ngakia being a better trainer. So I don't know if that's kind of hinting about Festy's application and training or anything like that. And I think he's been coming on as a sub, but he's been coming on like on the left and for 10 minutes here and there. And he's never really been able to get going. But at the start of his spell, he was excellent. I remember him doing this Cruyff turn against Sheffield Wednesday and putting a through ball into a Bayo before he scored. Again, just immense talent, and physically he's been amazing. So what have you made of what you know of kind of his spell so far at Watford, and why do you think maybe it hasn't gone as well as everyone would have hoped?
It's a good question. I think it's a bit of a mystery at the same time because I like to watch all the Irish players at the weekend, and obviously you can't watch them all, but because Rocco's been playing a lot lately, and so has Festy, well, not the last month or so, but both of them sort of managed to catch quite a bit of them. And initially, I was very impressed with Festy breaking into the team. I think really when he was in the team at that stage, he was probably one of the best wing backs in the Championship. I know, Cleverly's wanted to switch to a back four, and people always say, "Can you play Festy at right back?" I think it's still a big question mark over that because there's times he does fall asleep really defensively, which he's one-on-one defensively, he's very good. He loves to get, you can see it, he loves to get in with a big slide tackle or a big hit. But when someone puts the ball in behind, he might fall asleep for a couple of seconds. But I do find it a bit strange how it's seemed to all come apart really in the last month or so with him being, he was a fan favourite, and he was probably one of Watford's top performers, one of the best wing backs in the league, and Ngakia seems to just have held down that shirt. I personally think if when both are playing at their best, I think Festy's quite a distance a better player and is more impactful, especially going forward because of his pace, his power, the fear he strikes in defenders. But I know there probably is something there in the discipline thing when it comes to training, because we see quite a lot. He seems to pick up a yellow card every single game he plays. If you're a betting man, you'd make serious money off him, putting money on him to get a yellow card. But I'm very surprised to see how it's gone over the last month, because especially since November with an international break, I'm sure as you've seen in Wembley, he was absolutely brilliant against England in that first half. He was superb against Finland when he picked up that match-winning assist, came off the bench, was when he really announced himself to the whole international stage. So you'd like to think that he will get a chance again, but it is a bit worrying at the same time. I don't know what to think.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily his problem. I think it might be a problem of our centre halves not being good enough, and I think Ngakia might just be a bit better defensively, and that's why he's got the nod over him. It's a shame because you can see from his early spell how powerful and how impactful he can be. Just think he needs that run. So, look, as we've said, even when we talk about James Abankwah, like football, your journey's not linear. I hope Festy can move on to another team that's more suited and explode and have an amazing career. So I'm hoping he does get a run of games. One player who has been endearing himself to the Watford faithful is Rocco Vata, who we spoke to in the summer, who no one really knew about. But we bought him in a deal with Celtic. I think the compensation was as little as £200,000. I've got a claim about Rocco Vata, which wait for the end of the video, which I'll say after Conor said his piece on him. But same for Festy, really. But from the outsider, you're not really an outsider. But from looking in, how do you think Rocco has done since joining Watford?
I'm absolutely delighted with it, to be honest. The first couple of months was a bit annoyance because we seen brief cameos that he had. He'd one start. I remember it was at Norwich he played against, and he was doing really well. And it was kind of the thing, Cleverly, just play him, just play him. We want to see him play more minutes. And then all of a sudden, over the last month or two, he's really exploded, and he looks to be one of Watford's most exciting players. And he's only 19, and just to see what he's doing he's a joy to watch. And I think it's no real surprise to anyone, even from Watford's fans' point of view. I think when you seen him at the start of his tenure there, that you thought this is a real special player in the making if given a chance. And to be fair to Cleverly, I think Cleverly has probably managed him very well. He's kept the expectations down. He's bedded him in nicely to the squad, and now he's starting to break out. He's one of probably the breakout players in the Championship at the moment. He has everything you need to be a top class footballer, especially mentally as well. You don't see anything really phase him. and it's been a joy to watch. And I think he's really put himself in the picture to become an Ireland senior international in March, and it's something that I would be shocked if he's not called up in March, because when a winger is doing that well, and we lack top quality wingers, and it's not just about his quality right now, it's the potential of what he could be in the future. And you want someone in an international squad who already has the potential, and you want to get them bedded in, let them express themselves early and build their confidence up in the international scene.
Yeah, he is exactly what I feel like football is about and football fans want to see in a player, even without him touching the ball, the way he presses and harries down and just shows that effort, just in like makes fans connected in instantly. And then when he's on the ball, he's just absolute electric with his step overs, his pace. He must be a nightmare to defend against. And we've seen that goal at Fulham. I think that's just the start. I think cleverly, a quote that cleverly said was that he was the best finisher at the club, which
Yeah.
for a 19-year-old, I think he is pretty impressive. What do you think his best position is?
I think it's off the left, but I also think that he's excellent off the right, and he can also play as a number 10 excellently as well. Because the thing is, you don't really see much weaknesses in his game going forward, because he has an excellent first touch. He's brilliant on the half turn. He can use both feet and create. It's not just like he's a goal scoring winger. He's excellent creatively, and he he's a team player. He doesn't just play with his, as we see with a lot of young lads that are trying to make their name in the game. They just want to impress the manager, but Vata seems to have that bit of a head on his shoulder that he wants to not just pick up goals, he wants to create for his teammates. So I don't know what you think his best position is, but I probably would say at the moment his best position is the left.
Yep, I agree. That left-sided attacker kind of hitting the touchline and driving at his defenders with Watford, and where we have been successful this season, it has been that um, the 3-4-2-1. So maybe that 10 has been where Georgie Chatfordazzi is playing. And I do think Rocco Vata is that ready-made replacement for when we sell Chatfordazzi in the summer, which again is good planning from the club. But I think that's what Cleverly would love to play, that 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 with Vata wide left. And you're bang on what you said about his creativity. We saw that against West Brom. I think he got 2 assists, really good deliveries into the box for Bio. And yeah, I just love when I see him play and how lively he is. And my claim for him is I think he could be the Watford player during the Pozzo era that they flip for the most amount of profit. So we've had João Pedro, who I think we signed for 10 million and we sold for 30, 40 million. But I think Rocco Vata could go for 30 million. And from getting him
Yeah.
for 200k is absolutely phenomenal business. But I just want to see him get a run of games. And if he isn't that consistent starter, which I think we're going to see him play more and more, I think next season he's going to be one of our main men. So thank you for giving him and for sharing it. Did you have anything else you wanted to mention on him, or any thoughts you've got for him in the future? Obviously, you want to
No,
see him
I
over
think
the
he's a
first team.
potential to be he's a real potential to be a superstar. And with an Irish international, it's not often that we can really say that. And I know we have a few very good young players at the moment, but I think Rocco's one that you can definitely say. It's hard to put pressure on young lads' shoulders, but he seems to embrace the pressure, and he's one that we can say that has the potential to go to the very highest level. And he makes me, it's just excited. He's the type of player you want to go watch, you'd pay to go watch him play. So I'm glad he's at Watford, because he seems to be beloved there, and he's cleverly seems to be handling very well. So I can't wait to see what the future holds for him.
Great stuff. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, Conor. Before you go, just tell us again what you've got going on, where we should follow you. And actually, is there any, because I know you've done videos like 10 breakout Irish stars. Is there any young Irish player that either Watford should keep an eye on, or you think that could be playing in the Championship soon that we should know about?
That's a good question, because there's so many in my eyes. I'm very biased Irish players, but I think there's the one that we'll see come to England now next summer is Mason Melia. That's at St Pat's that James Abankwah is at. There's been a couple of bids for over £1 million for him so far from like Spurs, Tottenham, or Spurs, sorry, and Celtic, and a couple of Italian clubs. So I think we'll see. He turns 18 next September. He's possibly the best young player I've seen in the League of Ireland ever, for what he's doing at the age of 16, 17 has been pretty remarkable. So I think we'll see him go to a huge club in England this summer, and he possibly might go straight out and loan to the Championship. I think would probably be his best option.
Nice, Gino. If you're watching, get on the phone. We'll wrap up there. We spoke about Rocco Vata, and he does feature in our ranking Watford's fashions video we did with Ryan Andrews and Miles Roberts. So if you haven't seen that yet, check that out. They like the hat that he wears, his Fendi hat. That I think he was wearing that again midweek. So hopefully we'll see Rocco doing the business. I'm hoping that I'm going to see him when I go to Derby tomorrow. Conor, thanks again, mate. And before we go, have you heard the Rocco Vata chant that we were singing at the start of the season?
Yeah, of course, I've heard it. I know Rocco's mother actually is a big fan of the chant. I've spoke to her; she's a massive fan of it. So as long as you keep the family happy with the chant, I'm happy with it. It's very good.
I think it's amazing. We need to get it going in that away and tomorrow. So to players out, I'll drop that video in. Thanks, Conor, and come on, you Horns.
Do you have to, Rocco Vata? You know I'm such a fool for you. You got me round to run your finger. No, you have to, Rocco Vata. Do you have to, Rocco Vata?